Good morning. It is about 10 o'clock in Florida. Okay, so we're on chapter 16, the fairy with the blue hair. Fairy with blue hair. While poor Pinocchio hung from the limb of the great oak, seemingly more dead than alive, the fairy with the blue hair came again to the window. At sight of the unhappy boy swinging backward and forward in the wind, she was moved with pity. She clapped her hands 3 times, and at this signal the flutter of wings was heard, and a great falcon came and alighted upon the window's ledge. "What are your commands, my gracious fairy?" he asked, bowing low. "For For you must know that the fairy with the blue hair was none of was none other than a good spirit who had lived near this forest 4,000 years. Do you see that puppet hanging from the limb of the great oak? Yes, then the fly quickly and cut with your strong beak the rope that chokes him. Lay him gently on the ground and then come back to me. In 2 minutes the falcon flew back, saying, I have done as you commanded. And how did you find him, alive or dead? From his looks I thought him dead, but he cannot be entirely so, because the moment I cut the knot which held him, he gave a sigh and murmured, I feel better. Then the fairy clapped her hands twice, and there appeared a fine-looking dog walking along on his hind legs, just like a man. He was dressed in full coachman's livery. He wore a cap trimmed in gold lace, and under it a lightly curly wig. His coat was of chocolate color, set off by diamond buttons, and provided with 2 large pockets in which to stow away bones. His trousers were of rich crimson velvet, and he had silk stockings and low shoes. Behind him he carried a sort of umbrella case of blue satin in which to thrust his tail when the weather was stormy. My good Midoro, said the fairy, run quickly and harness up the finest coach in my stables, and then drive into the forest. When you come to the great oak, you will find upon the ground a poor little puppet, half dead. Take him up carefully and bring him here to me. Do you understand? The dog wagged his tail 3 or 4 times to show that he understood, and was off like a shot. It was not long until there came out from the stables a handsome sky blue carriage, all all tufted inside with canary bird's feathers, the color of rich cream. It was drawn of 100 pairs of white mice, and the dog sat up on the box, cracking his whip from right to left in great style. A quarter of an hour had scarcely gone by when the carriage returned, and the fairy who had waited at the door took the puppet in her arms and carried him into the bed inlaid with mother of pearl, and sent at once for the most famous doctors of that neighborhood. One after another the doctors arrived. They were a crow, a screech owl, and a talking cricket. Gentlemen, said the fairy, I should like to know whether his puppet is alive or dead. At this question, the crow came forward first, felt the patient's pulse, looked in his nose, tickled him on the feet, and after his examination gave the following solemn opinion. It is not believed that the patient is dead, but So oversight, he should not be dead. Then it would be a sure sign that he is still alive. It grieves me, said the owl, to have to contradict the crow, my illustrious friend and colleague. It is my belief that the patient is alive, but if through some oversight he should not be alive, then it would be a sure sign that he is dead. And have you nothing to say? Asked the fairy of the talking cricket. I say that the prudent doctor always keeps silent when he doesn't understand a case. For the rest, the puppet's face looks unfamiliar to me. I have known him for some time. Pinocchio, who up to that time had been lying stiff as a stick of wood, now gave such a start that he shook the whole bed. The puppet continued to cricket. It is a sorry rascal. Pinocchio opened his eyes and shut them quickly. He is a scamp, a rogue, a vagabond. Pinocchio hid his head under the coverlet. This puppet is a disobedient son who is likely to break his poor father's heart. At this point, the sound of weeping could be heard. Just imagine how surprised they all were when lifting the coverlet. They found that this noise came from Pinocchio. When a dead boy cries, said the crow solemnly, it is a sure sign that he is getting well. It grieves me to contradict my illus- illustrious friend and colleague, said the owl. But it seems to me that when a live boy cries, it is a sure sign that he doesn't want to die. Okay, stop right there, and later today we'll do 6 and 17. It's 14. Yeah, 17. Sorry, we just did chapter 16, so we're gonna do 17 later. And if it gets well and goes along. Later on today.